Good afternoon, everybody. I am so excited to be with each and every one of you joining our webinar this afternoon. My name is Darren August. It's my absolute privilege to welcome every single one of you to the Build Up program. This is an amazing program, financial literacy for artists. And so it's going to be quite a great time that we're going to have together. I always enjoy being in a space with creatives and artists and freelancers, people just like me. Okay, and so we're in for a great time this afternoon. Thank you so much for availing yourself. Thank you for giving up of your time to be with us this afternoon. This program is brought to you by the ASISA Foundation, and this program has been especially designed and curated and put together for you, for artists, for freelancers. And I remember a couple of months back, just browsing Facebook when lockdown was still like at its peak. And I was so heartbroken to just see some of the posts going around of how freelancers and artists and creative people were probably the most hard hit by this pandemic. And so really big ups, and we take our hats off to the ASISA Foundation for putting this program together. But most importantly, I really want to commend you who've registered, you who've showed up, and you who are taking action about your financial future. So many people desire to be better. So many people desire to have a better outcome in life, but so few people take action. I mean, if we had to look at the amount of people who were invited to this webinar, the amount of people who have this opportunity, so few people take action and see it all the way through. So I think let's start off by giving you some snaps and some claps, and you can give yourself a pat on the back because you've shown up and you've taken action. So as I mentioned, my name is Darren, and I'm going to be your host for the next 4 weeks. And I really want to encourage you to spend the next 4 weeks with us. We're going to be here, same time, same place, every Thursday for the next 4 weeks. I'm not alone. I've got an entire team running this webinar with me. And so behind the scenes, we've got Keliwe on technical support, and we have Crystal, who is managing the chat box. And so if at any point you have any issues, please feel free to chat in the chat box. You are most welcome to type your comments or type your questions there, and Crystal and Keliwe will address those and get back to you in the chat box. Also, with me, you should be able to see her on screen, is my co-host, who's going to be joining us today. Her name is Olivia, and Olivia she's a business owner, so she is very similar to all of us, but she's also a financial management expert and a financial planning expert, and she really helps and assists especially small businesses and entrepreneurs really just manage their finances better. And so Olivia, if you want to quickly say hello and just maybe give us a quick welcome there from your side.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, artists. I'm very excited to be part of this discussion. As Darren mentioned, we will be together for the next 4 weeks. We really welcome you to these webinars, and we are very excited as we bring these topics that affects us, us personally as well as in business. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to presenting as soon as Darren, my co-facilitator, finishes. Then I will take over, and thank you so much, and take over, Darren.
I thought she was going to say, as soon as Darren stops talking. So, as soon as I give you back your spotlight, since we are dealing with artists, you will get your time on stage, but mine first. All right, guys, so let's establish a couple of ground rules. Please know this is your platform, but as much as it is your platform, please respect the platform as well. Let's respect everybody that is tuning in. You will not have your videos on, so we'll have our videos on, and occasionally when we do some interactive activity, I will probably select a couple of you because I can see your names in the participant box. And then at that point, we will get you onto a panelist mode, and you'll be able to turn your video on, especially when we're asking you for feedback. Please, the success of this webinar is 100% dependent on your interaction, on you being engaged, on you participating. And so please do give us feedback. So when we ask you to switch your video on or your microphone on, please participate. I think as much as we have some experts in this forum, we'll be able to learn so much from each other. And so webinars like these really helps us when all of us are coming together and sharing our personal experiences. You may have been through something I may not have been through. I may be able to learn something from your journey, and so many other people may be able to learn from your journey. So please feel free to share your experiences. As I mentioned, just in terms of protocol, most of it will happen via the chat. So please feel free to chat. Make sure that you can see in the chat box what's happening. But type your questions, your comments in the chat, and the team will get back to you. I will occasionally be monitoring the chat box as well. And when I need to, I will read out some of the comments. All right. Today's topic is going to be planning with money. That's what we're going to kick off with. But before we do that, we have got a quick poll that we're going to do at the beginning of this webinar. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment, and I'm going to ask the team to put up the poll. And so, team, if you will put up the poll right now, I'd like you all to vote. A poll will come up on the screen, and you will vote using or choosing the answer that you agree with most. All right, so team, you can publish the poll. There we go. All right, so the poll is up on the screen. We have 10 questions, so please make sure that you answer every single one of those questions before it will allow you to submit. So if you would do that, I'm going to give it about 2 minutes for you to get through all 10 questions. It's multiple choice, okay? So choose the one you agree with most, and I'm going to give it about 2 minutes to do so. In the meantime, let me see who we've got on, and I'll do a couple of shout outs if that's okay. Okay, so welcome everybody. While you're completing the poll, well, let's just see if this poll's working. Can you all see the poll? If you could just type in the chat, let me know if you can see the poll. You should be voting now, and you should be using the poll. Okay, Tabisa says, yes, we can see it. Cool stuff. So welcome Angel, welcome Bongwe, welcome Jamie Lee, welcome Kitrice, welcome Kanyisile, Kayaletu, welcome Kirsty Lee, welcome Kylie, welcome Lihlohonolo, Mike Van Graan, Motlaji, yes, Motlaji, did I say that correctly? Yes, Munzedi, Mundedzi, Ndukentle, and Nomadlozi. We also have Paul, we also have Sophie, we have Tabisa, we have Tami, we have Tracy, and we have Unati. So thank you so much, everybody. Welcome. You should be voting, all right? So the poll is up on the screen, and let's see if you can vote. Remember, there are 10 questions. You want to choose the one that you agree with most. I'm going to keep quiet for a moment to give you some time to focus on completing the poll. Let's go. All right, now it looks like voting is working. We'll keep it up for another minute and a half, I think, just to give everybody some time. I know there are quite a few questions. Remember to scroll all the way down because there are 10 questions in total. Quite a few haven't even started voting. So if you could just either let us know if you're not seeing the poll or if you're having challenges. Otherwise, you should be voting on screen now and participating in the poll. Remember that you would have to scroll all the way down to the bottom. If you've completed the poll, please type in the chat and tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what you're looking forward to learning over the next 4 weeks. Let me know where you're tuning in from, just so that we can do that. Sophie says, feeling good. Awesome stuff. Thank you, Sophie. Love it. Okay, guys, keep going. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what your expectations are. Let us know what you're hoping to learn. We'd absolutely love to do that. Also, guys, if you have any questions, remember, you can type your questions in the chat box, and we will get through to the questions as we go in. Tuning in from Cape Town, Unati is saying, feeling great in Cape Town as well. So Cape Town's in the lead today. Well done. Awesome stuff. Olivia's getting excited there. for Cape Town. Tommy says, done. Very interesting questions. Looking forward to learning from everyone. Awesome. Thank you, Tommy. Feeling good from Josie. Well done. I'm also in Josie, all the way in Josie. Okay, quite about 6 or so of you still need to vote. So if you guys could quickly vote, I'm going to keep it open for 30 seconds more. 30 seconds, and then we're going to continue. And once we continue, we are going to keep rolling. Guys, this webinar will be about 100 minutes or so. So just make sure that you are able to focus for the next hour and a bit. If you need to move to a quiet area, if you need to just tell people to leave you alone for the next couple of minutes, tell them you are focusing on your financial future, all right? It's important, so do that. Also, we will have a couple of breaks in between, so don't stress. We're not going to be going full swinging without any breaks. We will have a couple of breaks in between. All right. Okay, team, if you're happy, I think we can end the poll, unless anybody's still busy. Looks like we're waiting for like 5 more people to vote. Okay, let's give it 30 seconds more. Those of you who have voted, please type in the chat. Let me know how you are feeling. Let me know how you and what you're looking forward to learning. I know those questions were very interesting. It was some of those questions that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I promise you after 4 weeks, you are going to be able to, you're going to have a lot more confidence when you need to answer these questions. Angel says, this is going to be interesting. I agree. Kyle saying excited and looking forward to learning more. Thank you so much, Kyle. Thanks for being here. All right, let's end the poll, guys. We can end the poll and we can take it down. Awesome stuff. Thank you very much. All right, the poll has ended and I'm going to put my screen back up and we're going to get straight into it. So guys, as I mentioned, today's topic is we're starting off with planning with money. And it's so important because I don't know how many of you would agree with me, but in life, we plan so many things. If we know that we're turning 30 next year, some of us start planning that birthday celebration 2 years in advance. Some of us go to gym because we know we want that perfect body for that all-white party that we're going to have. Some of us, when we are going to take a trip, we get our passports ready. We already get our foreign exchange if we need to do that. So we plan so many things, but we fail to plan when it comes to money. And I'm sure if I could see and ask all of us to put our hands up and say how many of us have got this thing down to a fine T, very few of us would be able to raise our hands and say we've mastered the art of planning with money. And so it's so important that we actually just revisit this topic, because just as we plan so many other aspects of our lives, we need to get familiar and begin to almost own our money as well. Own that space where we plan with our money. When we plan with money, we have to be able to differentiate between needs and wants. And so, like if I had to say to you, what are needs and what are wants? In fact, let me ask you that question. So what would you say are needs and what would you say are wants? Anybody, type in the chat and let me know what you think a need is versus what a want is when it comes to money particularly, all right? And I mean, the definitions are up on the screen. So if you want, you can just read it there. And it says when you need something, this means you cannot live without it. And when you want something, it's something you wish you could have. And so very important that we are able to identify that. And very important as well is to recognize that needs and wants differ for various people. Needs and wants also differ depending on what stage of your life you're in, all right? When you have your first child, your needs and wants differ. When you're straight out of school, your needs and wants are very different, okay? And so it's so important. And so a couple of pictures up on the screen. What do you think is a need or a want? Party with friends, is that a need or a want? Stuff like a new car, is a new car a need or a want? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat how you feel about needs and wants, what needs are and what are wants. And let me know what some of the needs and wants are that you experience, especially as an artist, as a freelancer, as a creative. What are some of the needs that you have when it comes to financial? Because somebody who works in a different field or a different, what's the word I'm looking for, industry, could have different needs and wants. What are some of the needs and wants that are specific to you as an artist, to you as a freelancer? Let me see if I can get to some of the messages in there. chat box quickly. Can we see the chat box? I'm battling to see it. Okay, let me just continue there. Team, if you'll just help me with some of the chats, because I'm battling to see the chat boxes. Give me 1 second, guys. I just want to get this off. Alrighty. Sorry, my screen is freezing. You know how technology goes.
Hi, Darian.
Go for it.
I'm seeing the charts on my site. I just wanted to read some of the charts. We've got Kaylee Hoff, and they're saying that a need is drinking water, a want is a bottle of water. Then we've got Angel Dlamini that says need is education. We also have Dugentle, and which says partying with friends is a want. Those are the 3 exciting responses that we have received so far.
I love that. I love the first one where you said a need is drinking water, a want is wanting a bottle of water, because I feel like that speaks to how volume, you know, it's like sometimes we can almost get our needs and our wants a little bit skewed up. Like, what is the basic need versus when do you cross that line and now almost becomes a want? That was beautifully illustrated there. Who was that from, Olivia? Who was the person who commented that one?
That was Kaylee.
Beautiful. Okay, and so the truth is that needs and wants differ from person to person. We've said that already. It's not important that we share the same taste or habits. It is important that we know what our wants and needs are. And needs and wants change as we grow older and as we develop as individuals. And the important thing to remember is that our needs and our wants will affect the amount of money that we must have and how we use it. So if you know that you want to have a full bottle of water, then it means you need to be able to plan with your money accordingly so that you're able to afford that bottle of water as opposed to just a glass, if that's what you need. All right. I want to play a quick video, and I think this just sort of demonstrates for us when it comes to budgeting, which is the big part of planning with money, and then we're going to continue the conversation.
Hi, I'm Lindiwe, and this is my stall. Andile is truly a people's person. He's always willing to lend a helping hand. This month, Andile has drawn up a budget. But whenever an opportunity to play the hero presents itself, Andile forgets about sticking to the budget. Friends and strangers alike have all witnessed Andile's giving hand. Andile has a soft spot for the ladies. And he loves the kids too. Andile is truly a good guy, but he is not wage-wise. He clearly still needs to learn more about budgeting. Shame, man. Poor Andile. If only he knew how to save a wire.
I feel like Andile's name could have very easily have been Darren. Okay, guys, so let's quickly get some feedback. Is there anybody brave enough to switch your video on and quickly tell us just what you thought about that video or how you interpreted that video? I'm going to stop sharing for just a second and let's see if we can have anybody in the chat just put your give us a indication if you're keen. Otherwise, I'm going to call somebody's name. Let's go with I'm choosing Kylie. Kylie, so if you'll switch your video on. Team, if you'll quickly promote Kylie to panelist, and then Kylie, if you'll put your video on and tell us what you thought of that video, and especially Andile's behavior. While Kylie's getting ready to do that, I want to just check there. Nomadlozi says Andile does not budget. Very true. Unati, you had an interesting comment as well. Needs his friends and family support versus parties. Very good one there. Are we on, Kylie? Kylie, if you'll just switch your video on. Awesome stuff. Look at Kylie obeying the rules of social distancing and wearing her mask. Thank you, Kylie. You can unmute yourself as well and then just share your feedback, what you thought about that video. Team, if you can unmute Kylie. Yeah, there we go.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my internet connection is very not great at the moment. So for now, you can just look at my masked face. But trust me, I have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and some teeth. So if that gives you a picture.
Awesome.
I think budgeting is very important. And I thought that video was really, really informative and really good. And I wish that we had been educated about budgeting in school, especially like in life orientation, you know. Instead, we just got some sex ed, which is not helpful. So I think it's so important to know how to budget. I still remember, just to give you a quick example, and just drawing from that video, is when I went to varsity and I got a bit of assistance, some of my counterparts ran out of money super quickly, and it was just really, really difficult. Because we weren't taught how to budget. It was just like, hey, money, let's go buy all the bottled water we want. So yeah, in summation, very, very important to budget. That was a great video. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kylie. How many of you could identify with Andile, who feels like almost being able to spend money and look good in front of everybody else makes him feel good about himself? It's like, I feel like so many of us fall into that trap. And I think, Kylie, you hit the nail on the head. I think so many young people, when you get to that stage where you're getting that money for the first time, when it comes with independence, it's so easy to fall into that trap there. Paul says it's hard to budget when you live from hand to mouth. I totally agree. Unati says somehow I'm unable to see other attendees. I can only see hosts. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just the device that you're using. But team, if you will respond to that one there. And then Angel says, me to be his finance manager. Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's continue, guys. I'm going to put my screen back up and we're going to continue the conversation. So when it comes to budgeting, no matter how much or how little money we have, it's so important that we budget. And budgeting is really, it's not rocket science. It really is just having a picture of how you spend your money. It's really just about becoming disciplined and tracking your spending. I don't know how many of you find yourself in a position where you know how much money came in, and before you know it, you've got so much month left and very little money. Okay. And the reason why is because so often we fail to track what we're doing. I know my mom always used to say, don't walk around with money in your pocket, because if you do, you're going to just spend it, you know, but that might be for somebody else, that might not work. So very important that understand that budgeting is a process of firstly planning how you're going to spend your money, and then secondly, tracking how you're spending your money. It's a tool that you assess your spending behavior as well, and you can build towards your financial goals. If you can't build towards your financial goals if you don't have a plan. The same way, like you can't just decide on your 30th birthday, okay, this party's happening and nobody shows up because you didn't send out invitations. It's exactly the same concept. So budgeting is the same thing. It's about planning, and then it's about tracking your spending as well. So up on the screen, there's a little bit of a template in terms of a budget. I'm going to give you a minute just to have a look at the budget on screen and pretend that you are doing the budget for a family, all right? And let's say the income is about 10,000 Rand for this family. How are you going to spend that 10,000 Rand? I'm going to give it a minute, and then I'm going to choose a participant to just come up on screen and share with us how you would spend 10,000 Rand. Break it up into needs and wants. And I'd also like you to list a couple of expenses that you believe this family would spend. So let's say there's this family, there's Maggie, Tabo, and Refilwe, they are the family. So you can decide how much each of those bring into the household income. And then I'd like for you to also spend that 10,000 Rand. So add a couple of items. You can pull out a piece of paper and a pen if you'd like. And then I'm going to give it about 2 minutes, and you will be able to come up on screen and share your feedback. So 2 minutes and we're going to start. We'll get some feedback. All right, let's see how you'll spend your monies. I'm going to see if I can read a few more of the chats quickly. Tommy says, most artists are like Andile. That's a great comment. Kaya says you could exchange Andile's name with mine as well. All right, if you're ready, if in the chat and you'd like to give feedback, please maybe just type in the chat and we'll quickly promote you to panelists so you can turn your video on. In fact, Kaya Letu, let's choose you. Kaya Letu, you're going to give us feedback and tell us how you would distribute that 10,000 Rand budget. So team, if you would please promote Kaya Letu to panelist. And then Kaya Letu, if you would turn on your video and unmute yourself and then just give us some feedback on how you would spend that 10,000 Rand. Give us an idea of what that family's budget should look like, would look like, or currently looks like. Give us an idea of some of the items you would see on that budget. And yeah, give us your feedback. So Kaya Letu, if you would turn your screen on and also your microphone. Okay, Kaya, if you'll put your mic on and video if possible. A couple of you saying you can only see me and Olivia on screen. Couldn't finish the exercise. Kaya, is your mic on? And video? Or shall we just continue? If we don't have Kaya, let's go with Unati. Promote Unati, guys, if you'll put Unati up on screen. Unati, if you will unmute yourself and put your video on. Okay, go for it, Unati. Is this working? Okay, doesn't look like it's. Unati, you're unmuted. If you can go, let's see if we can hear you.
Hi, how are you? I've been out for like a couple of seconds or minutes, so I'm not too sure what was the question.
Oh, the question was how you distributed that 10,000 Rand budget.
Budgeting is hard for me because I've been living from mouth to mouth. So, especially during COVID. So, yeah, I've tried because I've got a child that I need to, pay fees for and send money back for in the Eastern Cape. So I think that's the only one that I can budget for in terms of my personal budgeting and also paying rent where I am here in Cape Town. But other than that, during COVID, I've had to make sure that I don't use as much money because I do not know when I'm going to get the other money the following month because I'm a freelancer.
Love it. I think you're already giving some great tips about some of the things we're going to be speaking about. Thank you for sharing. Let's continue. So guys, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but so many times you just feel like you're getting the hang of this budgeting thing and then life happens, all right? And so, and I think Unati actually alluded to that already. You just get a little bit of income and then a child is sick or the rent changes or you need to move. And so there's unexpected expenses. the stove breaks and you need to repair it and it costs 500 Rand, or you've been working because you have not been working because of lockdown, your income was reduced by 40%. I think this year, every single person experienced this, like life at 2.0, where things just change and you need to find ways to work. And so that's why it's so important to have a budget, because firstly, you're able to budget and plan with your money. But also, if you don't have a budget, it's actually worse when something like along these lines happens to you. A child who's at tertiary needs Wi-Fi all of a sudden. We saw that this year, where ordinarily you were going to school or you were going to class or people were going to work and there was free Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden everybody was in lockdown and the only way you could work was with Wi-Fi. And so the amount of money you spent on data or internet just skyrocketed. And so it's so important to realize that you need to also plan for the everyday situations. As much as you have your budget in place, plan for emergencies. So budget before you receive income. I know I used to be so guilty of this, where I budget on the day the money comes in and I'm budgeting in my head. It doesn't work, right? So always budget before you receive income. Include all sources of income when you're budgeting. That is your salary, that's the grant, that's money from renting out rooms. If you've got a side hustle, which so many people have today, budget and include all of the sources of income. Budget for your needs first, then your wants. Very important, all right? Make sure that your needs are taken care of. It doesn't help that you look good and you're wearing the latest brands, but you are living on the street. All right, use the money that you're spending on the brand, the branded sneakers, to pay for rent. Okay, so make sure that you take care of the needs first and then the wants. Include savings in your budget, very important, and save for emergencies and then save towards your goals. As I mentioned earlier on, budgeting is a big part of it is planning. And so have those goals in mind and make sure that you're putting money away to achieve those goals as well. And then if you need to adjust, cut down on your wants first. All right, so instead of smoking 20 cigarettes, smoke 10, all right? And you could possibly save. That means you wouldn't have to buy 3 boxes of cigarettes. You could buy 1 and stretch it out over a period of time, unless they are putting up the price of cigarettes, and then you could buy a couple of extra boxes and you can sell cigarettes, and then you've got a side hustle and you're now able to generate more income. You see, that's what this is supposed to be about. Let's talk communicating about money. I know it's uncomfortable, especially because so many of us grow up in homes where money is not spoken about. Maybe in the chat right now, tell us how it goes down in your house. Tell us if you were used to growing up where people speak about money. It doesn't happen in every single home. And so it's so important that we communicate about money and that we get comfortable with communicating about money. And so a couple of things to take into consideration when it comes to communicating about money is that we express ourselves and connect with others in different ways through communication. And it's not easy, all right, because we see things differently. If I had to ask on this webinar, is lobola a want or a need? Our opinions would differ like completely, all right? If I were to ask if airtime is a want or a need, it would differ completely. And so because our wants and our needs differ, sometimes that makes it even more difficult for us to communicate about money, all right? How do you feel when you're talking about money and why? So I want to ask that question. So type in the chat quickly. How do you feel about talking about money and why do you feel that way? So Olivia, if you see some of the chat, maybe you can also read out some of the chat responses. So that's the question. Let's hear in the chat box quickly. How do you feel about talking about money and why do you feel that way when it comes to talking about money? I'm going to see if I can get to some of the comments in the chat quickly.
Hi, Darren. I see a message from Maggie.
Go for it.
And she's saying that for me, in brackets, and I'm sure for many people, budgeting can be affected by fear. It means really confronting your income and expense ratio, which can be grim if your income is sporadic. We also have Angel Dlamini, and she's saying, till this day, I don't know what my mother earned because that was never an open discussion.
Yeah, very true, very true. And so I would say probably 80–90% of people feel the same way. It's just not spoken about in our homes. All right. And so anyone else want to share how you feel about when it comes to talking about money, and why do you feel that way? Kaya says, Kanye Sile says, it's necessary to talk about money because I'm a student. I'll know what to ask from my parents and what not to. Kaya says it's hard, especially when you are contributing less than the rest. Very, very true. People feel like because you're not contributing, you don't have a say, but it still is important that we're able to get comfortable with talking about money. Somebody else here, Leshogonolo, says, I personally find it hard, honestly. From early, I have had education regarding money. I've never had education regarding money. So thank you for sharing that. And that's the reason why we have these kind of programs, because as I think it was, who was it, Kylie at the beginning, who said, I wish we had financial literacy in school. I agree with you 100%. We are not conditioned to think about money. We are not conditioned to think about our financial futures. And as a result, we keep either repeating the same mistakes we've watched growing up, or we get ourselves into bad decisions, and we pay for those bad decisions, for some of us, for the rest of our lives. All right, let's continue the conversation. All right, so when it comes to communicating about money, there's a couple of different styles. So some people are passive, and that is, they just withdraw completely, don't say anything about their financial situation, they don't ask questions. Then you get some people who are aggressive, who are either attacking or defending all the time. And then you get some people who are assertive, and those people who can tell you straight, no, I'm not spending money on that, or you owe me 3 rand change, you didn't give me change, you didn't give me enough change. So we want to get to the place where we are able to be comfortable and confident when it comes to talking about money. All right, so assertive communication when it comes to financial matters enables you to take responsibility for what you are thinking, feeling, and needing. Very important that you're able to express yourself also in an open, honest, and direct manner. Then when it comes to talking about money, you want to be able to be respectful to other people when it comes to money. All right, and then provides an equal opportunity for you to negotiate, win-win for all. And also it allows you to have a voice, and it enables a constructive resolution of misunderstanding and conflict. And so, guys, very important that you become familiar with it and just try it. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to master it up front, but start by, when you go out with those couple of friends, talk about the bill before you place the order for food, so that when the bill comes, there's not that uncomfortable silence. And I mean, it's literally as difficult as that. I know that when I was in varsity, that's the big thing. All right, so we all go out, and when the bill comes, it's like, okay, are we all paying for our own? Who's covering the tip? Are we going to tip? And there's always that one person who just assumed that it was on you today. Okay, so little things like that. Talk about it. Are we splitting 50-50? Are we getting separate bills? Have those discussions. Start with a little discussions like that, so that when you get to the point where you need to be negotiating interest rates and asking for discounts and making bigger financial decisions, you're going to be a little bit more comfortable with it. All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and we're going to be back in 5 minutes. And when we come back, Olivia is going to take over, and she's going to take us through quite a lot of information, especially when it comes to planning money around your income and around your business. So 5 minutes, and we will continue the discussion in 5. I'm going to put up a timer, and when the timer gets to 5, we'll continue the discussion. Well, there we go. Let me stop sharing here. All right, and it is 5 minutes went quickly. Time flies when you're having fun. I feel like we should have had a song that says level up, because it's about to level up. Let me put my video back on. Yeah, I am. Okay, video's back on. Sorry, guys. Okay, as I mentioned, it's about to level up. Olivia, if you could put your video on. And Olivia's going to take it further. And a little bit later on, just to give you guys an idea of what's happening a little bit later on as well, we are actually going to have another guest up coming to share his personal journey, his personal story. And I really want to attend every one of these webinars if you can, right? If you attend 3 out of the 4, there will be a certificate that you will receive, but I want to encourage you to attend all of them, because there's just a wealth of information available to every one of us, and we're going to be learning so much over the next 4 weeks. All right, so without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Olivia. As I mentioned, Olivia is our resident expert, and she is going to be with us also for the duration of the webinars. And so she's going to be covering especially some of the business side of things, because I know that as freelancers, as creatives, as artists, you are also a business person. You know, you might not be running that big production company just yet, but before it gets there, it actually starts where we are right now, having to plan with our money. And so Olivia, over to you. Without further ado, if you could put your video back on and also unmute yourself, and then you can take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back from the 5 minutes break. I am very excited to be part.
Is your video on, Olivia?
Yes, my video is on. My video is on. So I'm excited to be part of these discussions. Today, we will be covering some of the topics. As Darren mentioned, you know, when it comes to talking about money, it becomes sensitive. And we are here to do this discussion so that we can feel more comfortable. So I will be covering 3 topics today that are very, very interesting. And one of them is personal money versus business money. I'll continue with formulating business models, and then I'll close up with marketing and branding. So without further ado, I will start with business money versus personal money. So what I wanted to check with you as creatives, as artists, is as we are our own businesses, have you ever had any incident of using your business money for personal purposes and vice versa? And I really encourage you to actually participate on our chat box as you are telling us to share your experience about what really happened and what was the impact. How did it impact you? Did it actually impact you or your business at that stage?
Okay, guys, I'll read out the chat when I see them. So Olivia's question is, have you ever found yourself in a position where you are using company money or business money for your personal expenses? Guilty or not?
Are there any chats that are coming through?
Not just yet. You can keep going, Olivia.
Okay. All right. You know, I'm just going to share my story. When I started my business in 2013, you know, and as I entered the business, then I had a delay in terms of paying one of my personal debt. Then, you know, when you are in business and you are seeing the money coming in and you know that there is money and you don't actually differentiate, because what is important about this is that we want to ensure that we're able to separate our personal money from the business money. So what happened is that I went to the bank account, and then I took the money and I settled the debt. Question that I have, did I actually make a note that I have loaned the money, I have taken the money from the business? No. Did I actually pay back that loan? No, I didn't. Then you know what happened? It resulted that, you know, my business now ran into a difficulty, which made things a little bit difficult because I couldn't pay some of the expenses from the business side. you know, and the money was there. That was the main important thing. So the important thing, as Darren mentioned earlier on, you know, he introduced us on the wants and needs, you know, on budgeting, the importance of budgeting. And we can continue in terms of savings. Remember that it's very important for us to prepare for that. And it becomes easier when we separate for our businesses and our personal lives. So the importance here is that it's very important for us to be able and be comfortable to separate our personal money versus our business money. I would like to check with you guys if you are able to actually differentiate between the personal money and business money. I would like to encourage you to respond on our chat and let us know, what are the examples of business money? Do you actually understand what is, you know, when we talk about personal money, what is it that we're talking about? And what is it that we are talking about in terms of business money? So I would like to encourage you and chat to us via the chat box. And I would like to request you, Darren, if you could please let us know if there are any chats.
Yes, so there are a couple of comments. I want to quickly read one. So here's one. Unati says, yes, she has found herself in a position where she's used company money for personal expenses. She says, my excuse was that the business owed me. I started it registering with my own money and did its admin and my money at the beginning before it started making its own money. Kaya later says, oh yes, one of the reasons our company couldn't apply for relief is that we were not tax compliant. As a result of not differentiating business and personal money, we ended up not fitting the return, the return set C.
Sure. And thank you so much for those comments, guys. It is true indeed. And you know what normally happens? We end up losing a big opportunities for our businesses that could take our businesses to the next level. So that is why today we have this beautiful program that is funded by ASISA to help us, you know, to realize the importance of separating business money from personal money.
Sorry, Olivia, if you could just stop for 1 minute. I'm going to see if I can share your presentation. It might just improve the visibility for everybody else. So if you would just...
Okay, so if I can just stop sharing.
Yeah. And then let me see if I can share my presentation one more time.
All right. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, very important, creatives, artists, performers, dancers, very important for us to be able to separate, you know, between the personal and business income. And some of the examples, very important to actually pay ourselves salaries, you know, and also when it comes to personal money, we have examples like the salary, the grant, family money, you know, from the families. And when it comes to business, we need to understand that we have sales, you know, there are business loans as well as grants, and the importance of actually being separate a business account from the personal money. Now, this brings us to the next slide, whereby we are going to talk about the bucket poster. Let us look at this picture. This picture, there's money coming out of the tap into the bucket. And let us assume that the money that is coming out is the income, it's our earnings. And then the holes in the bucket, it's the expenses. So tell me, what would happen if we leave this situation as is? Let's go to the chart, let's respond there from the chart and let us know, what is it that you think would happen if we leave the situation as is? You know, as creatives as well, remember that you might receive, let's say you receive a big contract, longer term contract, whereby there is regular income. How can we ensure that we keep that money? What are the things that we could do to ensure that we are keeping that money? How can we stop those holes to, you know, fill in the bucket? Darren, I'm not sure whether there are any comments that you could share with us in response to the bucket poster.
I can certainly check. So Kaya Leto says, when the tap runs dry, there won't be anything on the bucket. Okay.
Yep.
And I think that hits the nail on the head.
Yep. True indeed. True indeed. It does happen. And that's why it results. It results sometimes to non-compliance. So it's very, very important for us from the beginning to actually try by all means and be comfortable to separate the business money from the personal money.
Ndukenle says, maybe you can try to create another source of income.
Interesting. We're very excited. Next week, we'll be talking about a very interesting topic that is related to that. So I'll really invite you to be part of next week's webinar.
Kanyisile says the business will never generate profits, and though not compulsory, the employees might not get bonuses. The business doesn't affect the owner, but also the employees.
Sure, we don't want to get to strike, when those things happen. Right. So if we explore, the bucket poster, things that could happen is that we'll fill the holes, use another bucket, open the tap more. But you know what? There are two ways to fill that bucket. That means to stop the water from coming out or putting more water in than coming out. When we compare this to the business, then that means that, we can use less or we earn more. And this brings us to the fact that we need to prepare for the best and the worst case scenario. Right, in terms of looking at the wants and the needs, talking about making sure that we're budgeting personally and for business, making sure that we save, making sure that we invest, right? And in terms of that, what are the things that you think that we could do in terms of maintaining that separation? How can we keep, that separation? We could set separate bank accounts. We could ensure that we keep those documents and receipts separately, prepare those budgets, make sure that we've got that budget for business and personal, and again, keep track. Remember that when we have taken money from the business account or you've taken money from your personal side, you ensure that you refund. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, creatives, performers, artists, for actually being interactive. So we're going to close the first session in terms of business money and also personal money. I would really encourage you to continue sending all the questions. Should you have questions, we're going to try by all means to respond to those questions, and also to make sure, should we not be able to respond to those questions, we'll ensure that we respond to it via the Facebook, right?
So Olivia, I've got a question. So you're saying, okay, have a separate bank account for yourself and a separate bank account for your business. What happens in the event where one of the two doesn't have money in it and you still need to, and something still needs to be paid? How do you then navigate and maintain that separation in a case like that?
Just repeat the question, Darren.
So my question is, you've given us a tip and you've said have separate bank accounts for business and for personal, but how does one then navigate when the need arises and there's an expense that needs to be paid and the account that you need to pay it from doesn't have money in it? Are you saying it's advisable to then either make sure that you bank with one bank so you can do a quick transfer? Give us some tips on how we can manage a situation like that.
Okay, there's two situations. One is you could have one bank. Remember that there is a business account, right, that you would open. And with the same bank, you could still, open your personal bank. Because remember, again, with different banks, there is charges and they're not the same. And if you go to separate banks, you might have higher charges. Beautiful. I hope I responded to your question.
Yes, thank you. That was very helpful. If there are any other questions for Olivia on that particular section, please feel free to type it in the chat box. I am monitoring the chat box and I will ask the questions as much as we can. A reminder that after today's webinar, we actually are going to be setting up a closed Facebook group where there will be a lot of interaction. There'll also be a dedicated website. And so we'll share all of those details, but it's going to be great for you to continue. We're also going to make the replays of these webinars available so you could go back, watch some of this content again and just take it in again, you know, so that you can start applying it. Next up, we're going to move into another section. Olivia is also going to cover this. I personally am looking forward to this quite a lot because I've heard this like buzzword. I've seen these terms flying around, but I'd love for you to get back into it, and take us deeper. So take it away, Olivia. Let's talk about formulating business models and customer segmentation.
Thank you, Darren. So formulating business models. What do you understand, you know, about business models? And what do you think that we use it for? Let's go to the chat box, send us your responses to tell us what is it that you understand around the business models. You know, what is it that you think that we are using it for? Are you familiar at all with this word? Because you might actually say, what are you talking about? Business models, business model canvas. What is it that you are talking about, Olivia? Come on, you know. Are there any other people, Darren, that are actually responding to us? Because I'm interested to know. All right.
Just waiting for the comments to come through.
Okay, so perhaps they are still coming through. Interesting enough, the business model, we're saying that it is a plan, right? That actually this plan is the one that talks about your whole business, the operation of your business, right? And remember that in order for you to actually have a business plan, there is a tool that you can use, which is business model canvas. Business model canvas is a structure of your business plan in one page. I don't know whether you have.
Kanyisile got it right. She says, business model, I think, is the way in which you plan and run your business.
Great, Kanyisile. Thank you so much for that response. You got it right indeed. So I was talking about this tool of a business model canvas. So we're saying that it's a structure of a business plan in one page. You know what is nice about, you know, a business plan, a business model canvas, is that it doesn't stay in the shelves. You know, you are able to actually place it on the wall. As the customers change, you also change it. And remember that it consists of 9 segments. But I'm interested to know, what do you think are the first 2 segments that you would start off, you know, in terms of doing your business model before I actually go through it one by one? Let's go to the chat. Respond to me. Let us know. What are the 2, for interest sake, what are the 2 segments that you would start off? If you would say now we sit down and we want to formulate a business model canvas, just before I actually go through it one by one to explain it in detail. Let's go to the chat and respond to that. Any responses, Darren?
Okay, so Olivia's question is, what do you believe are the 9? She mentioned that there are 9 segments in the business model canvas. What do you think the top 2 are, or the first 2 are, or in fact, any of them? If you think you know what should go into a business model canvas, type it in the chat and let's see how many of us get it right. You can continue, Olivia. I'll read the comments when they come through.
Okay, then. So we're going to go to the picture of the business model. Please, Darren. I'll start off with the key partners. Key partners, those are the people that you form strategic alliance with. We talk about joint ventures. We talk about collaborations. And in the space of artists, that could be the trainers, you know, talking about coaches, the mentors, performance, the exhibitions, right? Moving to key activities, we now talk about the most important actions that you have to do, in order to operate your business model. For example, as a creative, you might need, or as an actor, you might need to practice to perfectionist. You might have to expand your relevant portfolios. Then we move to value proposition. When we speak about value proposition, we talk about pain relievers, right? What is your unique advantage? What makes you to stand out? What differentiates you? What is your response to why? Why did you start this business?
Olivia, if I can just quickly stop you there, because the question saying, will the presentation be shared after this? Yes, guys, it will be available. It will be made available to you. So don't worry too much about screenshotting these pictures right now. Do take some notes, but I would also recommend watching the replay as well, so that you can actually complete your business model canvas. As Olivia's taking it through. So what I'm doing right now is I'm literally making notes as she's talking about it. And so I'm saying, okay, value proposition means this. So you can take down notes like that, but we will share the presentation with you as well after the webinar. So you can continue, Olivia.
Thank you, Darren. Coming back, so we're now going to talk about the customer relationships. Customer relations, these are the relationships that you have to form with different customers that you have. Right? With the buyers, with the people that are interested in your performance, people that are interested in your work. So these are the type, it could be networking, could be customization, because remember, you are your business, right? Now we come to customer segments. Customer segments, these are the groups of customers. We always ask ourselves, who are our most important customers? Who is our niche market? Now we're talking about customer segmentation. Let's talk about key resources. These are the assets that are required, because now we are offering value to our customers. So this is important because these assets can be physical. We are talking about the intellectual property, whereby we're talking about copyrights. As artists, we talk about the patents, etc. And then moving to channels. How do we communicate our value proposition? How do we, deliver? How do we distribute our value proposition? This could be online. We're talking about galleries. We're talking about museums, etc. Right? Now we come to a very interesting topic of segment of cost structure. Remember that you have to cost. There is that part of cost, whereby we describe all the costs that are involved in our performance. For example, it could be hiring of an instrument that you're going to use. We're talking about costumes that we're using as we are going to act. So these things are important. And remember, the cost structure could be fixed structures as well. Then moving to revenue streams. And this is a very interesting topic, right? Revenue streams, as we said, it links to customer segmentations because we have different groups of customers. So the revenue streams, we're talking about what is the value that the client is really prepared to pay? What are they paying now, right? We could be talking in the space of creatives, we're talking about patrons, we're talking about originals, we're talking about auctions, the grants, and the list goes on. And remember, when it comes to revenue streams, next week we've got an interesting webinar whereby we'll be talking about diversifying your revenue streams, right? So on that note, that now we have actually spoken about all the 9 elements, and we've got an idea of what business model canvas is. I'm going to ask us to do some exercise where I will give you 3 minutes to do your business model canvas. So I would choose just 2 segments. One would be the customer segments. Who are your important customers? Who do you think would be your niche market, right? We spoke about promoters, we spoke about local versus international, We spoke about the individuals, you know, so who are your important customers, as well as who is your niche market. Then the second one will be value proposition. Remember, value proposition, that's a pain reliever. What is your unique advantage? What is it that makes you to stand out? What differentiates you, you know, from the other artists? Why would I be interested to come to a specific artist and not to the other? So that is a value proposition. So if you could please take 3 minutes and write down your customer segments and value proposition. And thereafter, I would ask Kaliwe, Crystal to help us, you know, in terms of, as soon as we are done with the 3 minutes, I will give just 1 minute each participant. We'll choose just 2 participants, whereby we'll ask one to share customer segments and the other one to share value proposition. I'm not sure, Darren, whether you are able to place a timeliner for 3 minutes to start starting now.
I don't have a timer, but I will keep time. So
okay.
In 3 minutes time, we'll get 2 people to share their feedback. So just to reiterate quickly, so what Olivia is asking is, we've taken a look at the business model canvas, and we are just focusing on 2 of those sections right now. The first one is customer segments. So you are going to come on screen and you are going to tell us in your space, in your line of business, you as an individual, who are your groups of customers and what is your niche market. All right. And then somebody else is going to come up on screen and you're going to share with us what is your unique value proposition, what makes you different from your competitors, what is the pain reliever that you offer in terms of you as a business. All right. So we're going to give it 3 minutes and then we will continue. Maggie had a beautiful comment with regards to what the business model canvas is. She was saying, what is the demand for your product or service? Who are your potential clients? What is their spending power for your product or service? Wow. Based on the answers, you can determine how viable your business idea is. So yeah.
Great.
That's very nicely summed up. Thank you, Maggie.
Definitely. I agree with her in terms of the way that she explained it. And I would also just to add over and above that, you know, when it comes to business model canvas, you know, it's so good that you sort of cover yourself, because even if there is something that might bite you, but you will be covered. And what I like about it is that as your customers change, you also change. As your customers change, you go back to your 9 segments and you are able to change, right?
We've got 1 more minute and then we're going to, yeah.
Okay.
So in 1 minute, we'll get 2 people to share their comment. If you would like to give feedback, maybe you can just type in the chat, just say me, and then we'll promote you to panelists so you can share your screen and we can hear you as well. So if we can have 2 volunteers, please, 2 volunteers. If you would like to share either your customer segment or otherwise your value proposition, just type in the chat me and the team will get you up on screen.
Are there any volunteers to share with us? Customer segments?
Volunteers yet.
No volunteers yet.
So I'm going to choose 2 people.
All right, that's great, Darren. Thank you.
So let's have Itumeleng, if you can maybe give us feedback, and let's have Leslohonolo. So Itumeleng and Leslohonolo, if team, if you can just promote Lehlohonolo and Itumeleng, and if you guys can give us some feedback, tell us who your customer segment is, and also tell us your value proposition. So that is Itumeleng and Lehlohonolo. We'll start off with Lehlohonolo, you first.
Welcome, Lehlohonolo.
Take it away.
Welcome, Lehlohonolo. You can take the stand and share with us your, I'm assuming you would start with which one are you going to present? Is it customer segments or value proposition?
A value proposition.
Right, thank you. You can take the stand.
To be honest, as an actor, as a performer, today it's only the time I realized my value proposition. Before I didn't.
Amazing. Amazing.
Because usually what will happen, I won't think about my value. I will think about it's just a performance and it's been done, and I will think about it later. But as you talked, I started to think, I've been to school, I've studied this, and I'm also trying to further study my master's, and I've been performing for 10 years. But then whenever I value my rehearsals, they are still the same as in 10 years back when I started. You know, they haven't changed. And when I check also the amount of money I receive after the performance, it's slightly different from in the past, but it's still the same amount, if I may say, because my value is not in it. I have not valued my proposition as an artist, and I don't do that. And I think most of us are feeding into that trap. We don't understand our value. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lehlohonolo. Really great to hear from you. You know, the fact that you recognize the value that you are giving out from your performances. I would love to encourage you to continue with that business model canvas, you know, from home, so that you can actually see, indeed see the change, the impact that you are making out there as a performer, right? So I think it was it Itumeleng? Thank you so much, Lehlohonolo, for sharing with us, eh?
Thank you. Before we get to Itumeleng, let's go to Kanyisile because she volunteered. So we'll go to Kanyisile and then we'll go to Itumeleng. Go for it, Kanyisile. Video on.
Hello.
Welcome, Kanyisile.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to hand over to you, and then you will let us know what is it that you would like to share with us.
Okay, I'm 19 years old. I'm a first-year student in varsity, and I just find this very helpful because I know that one day I do want to own a big production company, you know. So I really appreciate these webinars. Yeah, that's
great, Kanyisile. Great. So make sure that you part of the next ones. We still have 3 more next week, following week, and they are bringing relevant topics to cover that we'll be covering. So thank you so much, Kanyisile. Are we going to be able to take Itumeleng? Darren? Are we still able to take, I think there was Itumeleng?
Yes, Itumeleng, go for it. Is Itumeleng getting off the train?
Right.
Itumeleng, you can go, video on and you can talk.
Okay.
Let's continue, Olivia.
Okay, so as we were talking, guys, the first 2 important segments that we need to focus on, customer segments and the value proposition. And remember that the customers are the heart of our businesses, right? Customers are the heart of our businesses. And again, in terms of the customers, we can group them And remember that these customers could also be different revenue streams, right? As we're grouping them, remember, they have common needs, they have common behaviors and attributes. Then the other thing is that when it comes to value proposition, remember the value and the value proposition. When it comes to that value proposition, what differentiates you? What is the problem that you are solving? What is the value that you are giving to your customers? And over again, there's two questions that I would leave you to continuously think about. Who are your customers? Why are these customers come to you, right? Which is a value proposition. So I will leave you with that homework. Remember to do that homework of a business model canvas. I know that we just started off with only the two, but now I would love you to go and finish off, and it would be nice somewhere, somehow, or even on Facebook to share with us on the Facebook, the closed group Facebook that we're going to have, to share with us your experiences, right? Do we have any questions for formulating business model canvas before we move to the next topic of marketing and branding?
Any questions? No questions at this point, Olivia. Maybe one question is, how often should you do this? Should you do this once and it's set, or do you need to revisit your business model canvas, and how often?
You need to revisit your business model canvas. I think one great thing about it is that it doesn't stay in the shelf. You know, when it comes to business plans, we make all those 36, 56 pages, and we actually put them in the files. Business model canvas, you can easily just put it on your wall so that it is visible to you as the business owner all the time. In that note, it's easy for you to recognize that now I have more groups of customers, or my customers have changed. Then that means I also need to change my business model canvas. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Let's move on to the next section. So the next section is you're talking about marketing. Take it away, Olivia.
Thanks, Darren. Now we're coming to a very interesting topic of marketing. Let's go to our chat. Let me know, what do you understand about marketing? What is it that you understand about marketing? Just one word, two words via the chat. It would be interesting to know, you know, whether you understand what marketing is, you know, to determine whether you have an understanding of marketing. Any volunteers that would like to share with us the understanding of marketing? Do we have any volunteers, Darren, on our chats?
I can't see any on my side. Can you see any?
Nothing yet.
Keep going.
Okay, so in terms of marketing, one is marketing is directly linked to sales, right? And again, we're doing marketing to increase these sales and also to introduce our services and products into the market, right? There's a tool that you need to have, which is called marketing strategy or a plan. This marketing plan or strategy, it's whereby you're making use of channels. Most of the companies, they use these channels. This could be social media. You know, we're just talking about briefly online platforms. You know, there's a lot of platforms that you could actually introduce, the YouTube, Facebook, you know, the list goes on and on. So that is what we call a marketing strategy. And again, remember that when we talk about marketing, we need, there are the P's that we normally use, whereby we talk about the price, we talk about the product itself or the service that you are providing. And we talk about the place, and we talk about promotion, right? So these things are important because they consist of what we call marketing mix. They are the four major factors in any marketing plan that you are compiling or formulating, right? Are there any comments on the chat, Darren, that perhaps speaks to marketing that we're talking about?
Not yet. We might get a couple of questions towards the end. I'm going to monitor it and we'll take questions at the end. So you can just keep going. Conscious of time.
Okay. Yes. All right then. So perhaps you have in your mind, you're asking yourself, you know, is there any type of model that I could use? A lot of companies, they use what we call AIDA model. So we speak there about the awareness. You make your customers aware of your product. Then again, we talk about the interest, because now they're starting to show, you know, the interest in your performance as an artist. You know, perhaps in your pictures that you draw, they start to show that interest. And again, then after that, there's what we call desire. There will start be a demand for your product. And when it comes to action, that is where now they have made their decision. They would like to go to that show. There's no one that can actually say to them, you cannot go to that show. You cannot go and watch that actor, you know, acting in that, you know, acting. So that is where the action needs to start, because now it's where, as someone that has done marketing, it's where you actually telling them where to go. What is it that they need to do in order to come and watch you performing? What is it that they need to do to come or to buy your book that you have written as a creative, right? So this is the action whereby it provokes that buying. You know, it results to that attention, the interest, and the desire. Perhaps you're saying, why would I do marketing? Why must I do marketing? You know, what are the benefits, you know, of me marketing myself? One, it says, all of us, we're looking for money. We're looking for money. Two, we talk about the reputation. We're looking for customers. You know, we would like, all the time, we want to increase the number of customers. I remember one of, you know, the performers mentioned earlier on that, you know, I'm still getting the same money, but I know that I'm actually bringing value. So in order for you, what do you do then? In order for you to have more customers, in order for you to have many people to come and watch you acting. So this is important that you market yourself more and more, right? Now we talk about personal branding. Remember, as we said initially, I think Darren mentioned it as well. He mentioned the fact that, you know, you are your own business as an actor, as a creative, right? So personal branding is important because it speaks to reputation. It speaks to who you are, right? There are some elements that you have to focus on in terms of branding. There are some elements that you need to focus on. One, we could focus on your personality. How do I dress? You know, how do you actually dress? So these elements, you focus on that personality, you focus on your values. What is it that you believe in as an actor? You know, what are your abilities? Remember that you're gifted. The fact that you are performing, you are gifted, you've got a talent, you've got skills. And Shogonolo mentioned education, you know, what is the uniqueness? This actually speaks to the value proposition that we were talking about. What separates you from others? And again, as I said, what is it that holds you high? What do you consider important? This, at the end of the day, helps your customers to determine, do I actually want to go and watch, you know, that performance, you know, or not, because of your branding, right? So I'm not sure whether there are any questions. Questions, Darren, comments?
I can't see any questions just yet, but maybe that's because I'm not seeing the chat box really well. But I think we're going to move on and we'll take all of the questions. We're doing okay for time. and we should have had a break here, but I feel like we're still managing. And so I think, especially because of what you're talking about right now, it actually just makes sense for me to actually bring on our next guest. And so next up, I would love to introduce a special guest who is joining us. And the reason I'm not letting us take a break now is literally because our guest is taking a break from a show that he's currently doing in Cape Town. And so I'd like to get him up on screen quickly. But before that, let me read a couple of comments here saying, powerful indeed. Somebody else here saying, thank you so much for sharing that revelation. Somebody else here, thank you, Kanyisile, for sharing. Another one here says, let me see, what was the other one there? So many comments, such a lot of comments, guys, coming through here. I'll get to them in a moment. But next up, let me quickly introduce our next guest. We have a special guest on the webinar this afternoon, and his name is Gregory. It's Gregory Makoma. And Gregory, we have a privilege of speaking to an internationally renowned dancer, choreographer, teacher, director, and scriptwriter. Gregory is also known for his artistic collaborations with projects that included internationally famed artists. Gregory, though, did not just happen upon this fame and accolade. Today, he's here to share his journey from when he started out with dance in the late 1980s. He's actually dialing in all the way from Cape Town and took some time out from a show that he's busy with at the Baxter Theatre in Cape Town. We feel special indeed, Gregory, that you've made time for us. Thank you so much and welcome to today's webinar. If you would please say hello.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and hello to all the participants. I think this is awesome that we can have sessions like this where we are sharing our skills, but also quite importantly is for us as artists to be given an opportunity where we can start to think about how we model our business, how we really take ourselves seriously in terms of ensuring that we stay in business even when there is a turmoil.
Beautiful. Gregory, so before we get into the discussion with you, maybe just introduce yourself, tell us briefly what you do now and how long you've been in the industry.
Sure, where do I start? But basically, I mean, this year marks my 30 years in dance as a profession. I started in 1990 when I walked into moving into dance building. It was in Bloemfontein Recreation Center at the time to audition. I didn't know, I was literally 17 years old at that time. And I didn't really know if I wanted to take dance as a career. All I knew was that it is something that I was very passionate about since the young age. So I walked in and it changed my life. You know, I never looked back. Even though, you know, every time I have a conversation with my mother, she always says, you know, when are you going to fulfill my dream of you becoming a doctor? And my response to her is that, you know, somehow I'm fulfilling a dream because, you know, I'm on my way to becoming a doctor of dance. So yeah, wow. So that dream is getting nearer. But that was the formative years, you know, and curiosity, I think, led me to where I am. I was always curious in terms of how the arts are shaping society and how I can be part of that changing artistic landscape in my country. So I've always been curious. I've always traveled around the world, taking classes with other choreographers, international choreographers, and attending workshops. And eventually I auditioned to study at PARTS, Performing Arts Research and Training Studios, which is based in Belgium. I stayed there. It was supposed to be 3 years. I stayed 1 year because there was a need for me to, there was an edge for me to come back to South Africa and be part of the changing political landscape in a country and contribute to the artistic field. So I created my company, Webinar1 Dance Theatre, which is 21 years this year. And with Webinar1 Dance Theatre, it's a, I call it a playing field. It's a global playground for me because that's where I'm able to bring in also artists from different genres of art, and we play. We come in and we play, we create something, we bring our stories, and we package them for the world to marvel at what we are able to do. So I've developed to be not only a dancer, but also to look at how other forms, artistic forms, can enhance my dancing, can enhance what I'm offering.
Greg, we want to try and get as much information from you on and I know we've got limited time with you. It's interesting that you were saying you're studying to become a doctor in dance. Nomadlozi says this session is just what the doctor ordered. Like everything is just aligning today. So let's talk a little bit. Obviously, you know that this is a financial literacy workshop for artists. And so were you always a freelancer? Tell us a little bit about some of the types of income you were receiving in the early years, and then compared to more recently. And by that, we mean things like sponsorships and grants. What were the types of incomes you would receive as an artist? And tell us how that played out in your financial life.
Sure. I mean, when I started, I was literally on a stipend. It was literally just to get myself into the studio and to the training classes. So it was not a salary. And I don't think I ever, even in the beginning days, I realized that that we were supposed to earn a salary. It was like, you know, a phenomenon to hear an artist that they're earning a salary. Because we grew up with that notion that it is the passion. And if you're passionate about something, you don't think about, you know, what value it has and how it should be valued, how it should be paid. So that was my starting point on really a stipend. And then eventually, when I started realizing the value that I have and the value proposition that I was bringing on board, I started also thinking about what is the financial position of the value proposition I'm bringing on the table. So I started charging for the work and for the time that I was putting into the studio, or if someone was asking me to teach, I will charge. So there was now a salary scale that I started, and it was a very little salary scale because I was very aware that I was building experience at that time. So I didn't want to appear as if, you know, already I put money before anything else. So there was that balance of, and do need to be paid, but I was very modest in terms of what I needed to be paid. But today, it's a different story because I am literally just selling. I'm selling a product. I see myself as every time I step on stage, I already know that this is how much I'll be paid, and this is how much I'll be paying the other people that are with me on stage. And I've built a team around me who are helping me now to shape the business of the company. So I have a marketing person that works with me, and literally they look after every facet of a marketing. If I'm building a production from day one, they are also marketing that production. So in most cases, like I am here in Cape Town, the work premiered literally on Tuesday. So the producers didn't know what I was bringing, but they bought onto faith. They bought onto, you know, what you already have as an artist. You've built in a value proposition that does not necessarily need for people to see a product before they could buy it. So today we are able to sell all over the world before even the product is made. So we're selling to the world something that they buying on faith that it will be a great production, but because there's already a value proposition in the name, so they are able to sell themselves to their people who support their theaters. They're selling on the name before even the production comes to fruition. So yes, there's that balance of making work, but making sure that that work carries in itself a value proposition.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about financial literacy. How much of a role did financial literacy play in your development as an artist and even in your business?
Big time. I mean, I was fortunate that I was introduced to an amazing course at Gibbs, social entrepreneurship. And with that course, there was also the financial wellness and ensuring that as much as we're talking about passion, how do you translate that passion into money, into profit making? How do we get rid of a begging bowl and carry with ourselves a transactional conversation with either, if you walk into a boardroom and people are asking me to put in a production for their clients, the value I'm bringing into that room, it's also about them understanding that I also run a business. So I come in with a very clear indication of this is what is going to cost you. And that is calculated. You don't just thumb suck. You calculate in terms of the number of people that you'll be utilizing, the kind of things that you need in order for that production to happen. So that will give you at the end the total that you need, and you still have to make profit out of it. So that builds the financial literacy in terms of knowing your numbers, knowing that you don't thumb suck to a client. You need to prove that this is where their money is going to, and not be afraid to even charge for yourself. So there is a price tag that I put to myself. I will not step on stage if I'm not paid that much. And that is the price tag that I'm going with. And I want people to understand that. So it's a conversation that I have with clients that I work with.
Am I back? Gregory, if you can just
Yes,
wait,
you
if
are
you can
back.
hear me fine. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, I can see you.
You back, Darren?
Okay, I know I disappeared, but I think everybody got the gist of what you were saying. So just as we end up with you, what are some tips that you have for freelance artists on how to manage their money?
Well, I mean, I'll say,
Okay. Did you guys get that question?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the first thing is that people must understand that as an artist, if you're stepping on stage and you are being booked and you asking people to pay for a ticket, you are already in business. And you need to treat yourself, even as a solo artist, as an individual, you treat that art as a business. So whatever you're doing, your negotiations must negotiate around your business. So you must ensure that people understand that whatever you're putting on stage, there is a commitment of an artist behind it. But the product itself, it's a business and it needs to be sold and it needs to make money. It is your living. It is something that you have to treasure and not just give it away for free. I know that we do a lot of that. And then I tell my family now that, no, if you want me to dance at your wedding, you're asking for my art to be present. And that is my business. So you need to be paying for it. So there's no freebies. People need to pay for what you are offering as a business.
Yeah. Sure. That's beautiful. There's a comment that came through here saying, wow, thank you so much for that. It was, where was it's such a beautiful comment. Understanding that you are a brand and that you add value is the first step to seeing yourself as a business. I think that's so true. And I think that's a lot of value there. Gregory, we're going to ask you to stay on if you can, because at the end, I would like you to leave us with a tip. But before we get there, guys, if we can put up the poll and let's get everybody just to participate in the poll before we end of today's session. After the poll, when we come back, Olivia, if you would please prepare one tip that you would like to leave with everybody for the week ahead. And then Gregory, if you would also like to please prepare just a tip that you would like to leave with everybody on the webinar today. But for now, team, if you could please publish the poll and let's get everybody to participate in the poll before we end of today's webinar. The poll is up on screen, guys. It has 10 questions once again, so please complete each of the 10 questions. Choose the answer you agree with most, and once you've all voted, we will close the poll and finish off today's webinar. So I'm going to leave it up for about 2 minutes. 10 questions, scroll all the way down, answer each question, and then submit. In the meantime, I'm going to read some comments. Christy Lee saying, thank you, Gregory. This was so informative. Angel saying, wow, thank you, Gregory. Maggie here says, I'm sure all creatives have some experience of being paid in exposure instead of cash dollar, recognizing that your skills and they have value, that your time is valuable is the first step to building as a salary scale. Beautiful there. Passion can be sometimes dangerous. You give your time for almost nothing. True. So don't just be paid for passion. See yourself as a brand, see yourself as a company, and apply what Gregory shared today. I think it starts with recognizing your own value before you take your value to the world. Yeah. You were going to say something, Olivia?
Yes, I just saw a message that is asking, is this the same poll? So if you could just respond to that.
It's a different poll.
All right, thank you.
So some of the questions may seem similar. The reason for that is just because we're gauging as well if you've had a shift in your thinking from the time we started to now. So either way, please do answer it, even if some of the questions do appear for the second time. Quite a few of you still needing to vote. Remember, there are 10 questions, so please make sure that you scroll all the way down to the bottom before it will allow you to submit. I'm going to keep it open for only 30 seconds more. So 30 seconds more, and then we're going to close down the poll. So if you could quickly vote. If you have already voted, if you've completed, now's your opportunity to please type in the chat and tell us what you thought of today's webinar. Tell us how you've experienced it. Tell us what you thought of the content that Olivia presented. Tell us what you thought of Gregory's interview. I'd love to hear your feedback before we close off today's webinar. Also an opportunity to type your final questions. If you've got a couple of questions, let me know. All right, it looks like we can shut off the poll. So thank you, guys. You can close the poll and let's start wrapping things up. I think this has been such an amazing experience. Kanyisile saying this was definitely worth watching. Thank you so much, Kanyisile. All right, so Gregory, I think let's start off with you. What is your final tip that you would like to leave everybody with for this week, and also just for the future as freelancers, as artists? What is one thing that you would like to leave with everybody on the webinar today?
Okay, thank you again. Yeah, I think there are 3 things that I always carry with myself, and I use them in everything that I'm doing. Is 1, I look at my art as passion and empathy and getting paid. Those are the 3 things, and they go together. So I need to express how passionate I am with my art. but I'm also have empathy towards it, towards others. And I make sure that I get paid. Confucius, who's a Chinese philosopher, I think puts it very well. And he says, by 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation. So imitate, see what other people are doing in terms of why is that person so great? What are they doing? Which is the easiest thing. And then third, by experience. What has your experience taught you? What have you learned from your experience? What the experience of engaging with others has taught you? And that one is the most bitter because you have to be critical to yourself. And some of the things you need to let go of them because even with COVID-19, it cannot be business as usual. Thank you.
Drops mic. Oh, I love that.
Yes, that was great.
I think that's such a beautiful takeaway that you ended off there with reflection, imitation, experience, something that definitely all of us can take away with us and apply. Thank you so much, Gregory, for coming on and for being part of it. If you want, you can stay around because I'm going to read some of the comments shortly, and quite a few is really people just thankful and grateful to you for coming on and sharing your experience. So that was really, really beautiful. Thank you for giving up of your time. And we know you took time out of your busy schedule. You've got a production that you're part of right now, and you were able to just steal away a couple of minutes just to come and share and impart from your personal journey, which is so inspiring. Thank you. Olivia, final words from you. What is one of the things that you would like to leave with everybody on the webinar today?
Okay. I think throughout the whole webinar, the word value came up. And I really just want to emphasize that. Value your gift, value your talent, and ensure it comes out from your business. And as I said, your business is you. Remember to value that talent. The show, as Greg said, he mentioned it, I don't know how many times. Darren mentioned it many, many times. But I would like to leave you because I know that we have left you with a lot of thinking. We have left you with a lot of things to be done. I would say it's just a long list. But I just remembered, as Darren was saying, let me prepare something. I remember that Utadu Nelson Mandela said, it seems impossible until it's done. Thank you. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much for attending, taking time and be with us in this webinar. And I'm really looking forward to see you next week as we're going to continue with other webinars and coming up with interesting and very relevant topics to our lives and our businesses.